What's up, you guys? It's PhiDX. Clive Rossfield comes to Tekken tomorrow. And one of the many comparisons since his announcement is to Noctis. Noctis was a Final Fantasy 15 character in Tekken 7. And people are calling Clive Noctis 2.0 or Noctis 3.0. I was a competitive Noctis player in the pro tournament scene in Tekken 7, and I wasn't a top player by any means, but I was getting some nice wins on some really, really good world-class players. I consider myself a specialist of Noctis and someone who was really, really obsessed with the character. So I want to give my take on whether Clive is the same as Noctis. But before I do, I need you guys to give a shout out or check out Mughal Content Creator, the guy who put together this amazing video. Also goes by Dark Mughal. He made the video, he made the thumbnail, and he put a lot of effort into creating this comparison video side by side. It's extremely well done. Before you continue with this video, please check out his link. I'm going to check out his channel. I'm going to drop the link below. Okay. Thank you so much. Please give him the support. Let's get into this. So, Clive versus Noctis comparison. I have notes on this we'll go through after. Let's go through move by move. All right. First move. Well, title intro, I guess. Okay. Clive's 2-2, supposedly, which was a super popular Noctis string, and is going to be a huge identity of the character. The fact that he can swing from long range is huge in Tekken, a kind of fist-based game. But what's interesting is both characters seem to be left at point-blank range after the move finishes, right? So yes, you swing from a distance at first, but after you actually complete the move on block, you're right next to each other. What's noticeable also is they chose the second and third hits of Noctis 2-2 to match the animation. But functionally, I think many players will be curious about how it plays in the neutral. Can you swing from a distance? How sidesteppable is it? Is it safe on block? Is it punishable? Those are crucial details we need to know. Next move, it's Clive's Magic Burst and Noctis's Thundaga. Okay, so this is a bit different to me. Noctis's was a 14 frame mid that was safe and did 35 damage. It didn't knock down. Clive's looks like a high, right? So it is kind of a 2-hit quick poke that seems pretty high reward, but Noctis's being a mid is a big deal. Clive's also knocks down, whereas Noctis's does not. It leaves them standing. So a little bit inspired, maybe, but I think that this is more of a focus on how Clive played in FF16, where you could do Magic Burst between your attacks. Noctis didn't really have a straight analog to this attack as far as I know. This was more of a Tekken original, so slightly different here. This one surprised me. This is back 1-2 from Noctis, and I'm assuming the input is similar for Clive. It looks like Noctis, where he does a hook, Clive does a back fist, and then Clive finishes with a sword swipe backwards, whereas Noctis goes for a stab. It looks like they're both high. Clive's is doing chip damage. The question is, how fast is the first hit, and how is it a natural combo? If the first hit hits, is the second one guaranteed? Because Noctis's was his 12-frame punish. If the first hit connected, the second one was guaranteed. So we want to know if Clive's is similar. All right, next move. This one also surprised me. Down forward 1-2 from Clive, and down forward 1-4 from Noctis. Let's look at it again. Down forward 1-2, and then down forward 1-4. A mid poke into a high. Noctis's was interesting because if the first hit was a counter hit, the second was guaranteed, right? So we wonder if Clive is going to do the same thing. Similar mid poke. Is it going to be the same speed? And then the extension. Is it going to be guaranteed if the first counter hits, right? They're similar, but we don't know if they're going to play similar. That seems the closest so far, though. Now we see Clive go into his Phoenix stance. He goes into a dash, and Noctis does a roll dodge. So the cut is pretty quick, but they both do a mid after. Noctis's is armored. Clive's is not, but it transitions into another attack. So when it comes to this move, not having armor is very different. The thing that's interesting is Clive's is clearly built to be a mix-up stance. Noctis's was not practical as a mix-up stance because the low is launch punishable. The mid is obviously block punishable, but both options can be sidestepped to the right very reliably. So you didn't have to guess, you just had to sidestep. Noctis players ended up using this roll kind of either as cheese or as an empty roll to make your opponent hesitate and then play the game after. So it was slightly different. I think Clive is going to try to attack out of this stance, rather than play mind games out of it. But that's just my guess. I have no way of knowing. This is a sad comparison to me, not in terms of like it being disingenuous or anything, but it's just not exactly the same thing. Here we see Clive do a huge sword swipe that launches into the air. Noctis also does a sword swipe that launches into the air. Now the difference is if you look at Clive's really closely, it's actually the second part of a 2-hit string. Kazuya is in hit stun right here. And if you've seen the other trailers, he does an elbow and then the uppercut. So he doesn't have Noctis's true down forward 2, where he swings from long range. It whiff punishes from like range 3 or 4. It was my favorite Noctis move. I don't think Clive is going to have it. That said, the next part is similar. They both teleport into the air and do some kind of 2-2 combo. Now, Clive's is authentic to his, right? He does this, and Noctis does fly 2-2-2. These are both authentic to their respective games, which is interesting. So Clive's is Burning Blade charge in the air into his plunge combo. Noctis has this actual string in Final Fantasy 15. So similar, but not exactly the same. I think it's just a neat little Easter egg if you're a Final Fantasy enjoyer. Rather than going frame by frame, I realize I could be just doing this at like 7.5 speed or something. All right. Okay, now let's continue. So this is an interesting concept. Both of these are attack throws that finish a combo. An attack throw is a move that makes contact and then plays a fixed animation. So if you look at Clive's here, he uses Odin's Blade and dashes through and does multiple slashes. Noctis throws his sword and warp strikes. Key difference here gameplay-wise is Clive swaps positions. So he's not going to keep the wall advantage anymore, whereas Noctis is going to maintain his wall position. That's a huge difference. Next one is the orbital from Clive using Garuda. A big launcher, and I was shocked by this one. This one caught me off guard. Noctis did have a similar move. I just didn't realize it because I was so locked in on Noctis using the sword. Crucial difference here. Look, even the knockback animation is the same. If you look at Kazuya in the air, he gets bounced with exactly the same animation. That's interesting. And then they both have a one-hit combo extender. Noctis using the Greatsword, Clive using the Ramuh's Spear. Now, what fascinated me about this is Clive's is actually way faster. If you look at how Clive does it, I know it's at 0.7 speed, but Clive's comes out way faster than Noctis's. Noctis gets some air time, and you could actually kind of react to Noctis jumping and stand back up. It wasn't really a real mid-launcher used very often. And then the combo extender is similar. This one is also interesting to me. Clive does a kick, a swipe, and then summons Torgal. Noctis does a kick, a swipe, and then a kick again. I didn't see the comparison until he held it up side by side. What is curious about this string is that there are some really strong properties about Noctis's that we want to know if Clive has. If Noctis's kick counter hit you, the whole string was guaranteed and could wall splat. So if Clive's does the same thing on the ground, it'll be super strong. Of course, the high sword was duckable from Noctis, so we wonder if Clive's high sword is going to be duckable as well. Last hit was a high. We don't know if Torgal's a high or mid, special mid, things like that. All right, running 2 into Phoenix stance into a low sweep. Noctis throws his sword and then does a demo man like Paul. Now, this is fascinating to me because this is not very similar gameplay-wise, even though it kind of looks the same. How Noctis's worked is in the last game, you didn't have heat, but you could spend your rage to do an empowered attack called a rage drive. Noctis would spend his rage to throw his sword and then do his mix-up. But unless you hit the wall, like you bounced your opponent into the wall, Noctis isn't very advantageous here. You can actually jab him out of his mix-up here, and he doesn't have a lot to do to counter it besides like a sidestep. So this is similar when presented this way, but I get the feeling Clive's stab sword here, the lunge, is going to be super plus, and he will actually get a mix-up, whereas Noctis didn't really have a mix-up here. And even though it is a low sweep, the animations are just so clearly different, right? Like, reused concept, maybe. This one is cool to me. This is Titan's Wind-Up, the big power crush. Clive armors through Kazuya's attack. Noctis's is a little different. His was what we call in Tekken a Sabaki, which is a built-in punch parry. So whereas Clive absorbs the hits and takes damage, Noctis fully parries it. You can look at Kazuya here on the right. There's an animation where his punch whiffs, he tumbles forward, and then he gets bashed in the head. It is interesting that the punches look the same, considering that wind up is just taken from Final Fantasy 16, and I don't really remember Noctis having a punch like this in Final Fantasy 15. So I didn't use the shield very much, so I could be wrong. But to me, this is more of a coincidence. Pretty cool that the moves function similarly, though. All right, this is interesting too. A comparison that doesn't really add up to me gameplay-wise. Clive swings Odin's Gungnir, the spear, into the ground, and it is a launcher. Definitely a counter hit launcher. I'm curious if it's a normal hit launcher. Noctis's was a normal hit launcher, but he jumps in the air. So he actually jumps over lows, but he has to start running to do it first. The main counterplay was to sidestep it, or to just block it, because Noctis didn't really have a mix-up after. So, we don't know if these moves are similar, because Clive's is a counter hit launcher. We have no information if it's a normal hit launcher or not. But cool in concept. I wonder if it's plus on block too. This one's fascinating. This one caught me off guard. A sidestep attack into a big, like, downward strike. Clive's honestly looks better. The reason I think Clive's is better is this was a counter hit launcher, right? Noctis's was just a counter hit knockdown for a guaranteed follow-up. Clive's is noticeably a bit slower, though. You can see Noctis has already made contact. Clive is still swinging. So powerful move from Clive, might be better than Noctis's even was. This is a throw from Final Fantasy 16, like a sequence in that game. So this comparison is more, I think, just aesthetic and visual. You'll notice that Noctis's throw actually leaves Kazuya right at his feet for like a Okazemi, a wake-up situation where you could continue some pressure. Didn't really have much guaranteed, but Clive's knocks the opponent way far back, right? See the difference? And then they do a Rage Art comparison. Noctis's Rage Art was really cool. I'm going to play this at full speed. Noctis having the royal arms, all of the weapons of his ancestors. Summoning all the weapons. And then teleporting around, as is Noctis. So I thought this was pretty cool. Obviously, Clive's is going to be different because it's from Final Fantasy 16. He does a combo in semi-primed mode. Fully primes into a Freet. Throws Jin in the ground. Even the Square Enix devs were like, isn't this a lot? This seems kind of crazy. So, yeah, that's my initial reaction to the different moves. I took some notes below here. Let's go back through them one by one and just kind of recap, right? So, Noctis had his 2-hit sword swipe. Clive has this. We don't know what the extensions are either. Noctis's was kind of scary because if you mashed, you would get hit by the follow-ups. Does Clive have follow-ups? Can he go into stance after? I think I saw a clip where he went into stance after. So the mind games after will be a huge determining factor, as well as is it sidesteppable? Noctis is tracked sidestep to the right, but perhaps Clive's will be fully linear, considering Tekken 8 in general has better sidesteps. This is that back 2 string from Noctis, and Clive having the 2-hit magic burst string. Again, I consider these pretty different, just because Clive's is high, Noctis's was mid. Right. Back 1-2. This is surprising to me. I'll be interested to see if Clive's is a similar move. His does chip damage and pushes back really far. Probably going to be duckable as well. Down forward 1-2. Again, probably duckable. Hopefully it does something on counter hit. This roll stance is compared to the Phoenix stance. I consider these different, although we do have to test what the counterplay is to Clive's. Based on the design philosophy of Tekken, though, I'm going to guess that you probably can't easily sidestep to counterplay all of Clive's options like you could against Noctis. All right, this is, again, not a true comparison. We see a 2-2-2 combo, which people love talking about, but I think it's mostly aesthetic, right? Noctis had this big whiff punish from long range. Clive is doing an elbow first, so it's not the same. Bit of a teleport combo, but again, authentic to their games. It feels like not really a reuse or anything like that. The rest of the combo has an attack throw. Again, Clive's changes positions and will actually build his meter because he's using Odin's sword. Noctis had no other benefit aside from keeping the wall position. A bit of an orbital comparison. Clive's looks stronger. I will be curious if it's safe. Noctis's was safe, but Clive's is so fast, maybe it won't be. 3-hit string, pushback, mid, high, supposedly, and then maybe another high, depending what Torgal is. Running 2 into stance pressure. Noctis using rage drive into stance pressure. Not really the same thing. One notable thing I want to cover. I want to cover a Noctis move that's noticeably missing as well at the end. Titan's wind up, the power crush, and Noctis's Sabaki. Noctis is a parry. Titans is a power crush, an armor move. And look at the pushback difference. Again, Clive pushes back. Noctis keeps them at his feet. Counter hit launcher from Clive. Normal hit launcher from Noctis. Curious how it's going to behave normally. Sidestep 2 or sidestep 1. Clive's being a counter hit launcher. Huge benefit here. Just a throw animation. Again, specific to their games. And then Rage Arts. Okay, so we've covered every move. There's a key Noctis move that's missing. And I don't know if there's a video I can find off the top of my head where he has it. But I think... Oh, I know it's in this one. Right here. I actually went to the exact moment. But I'm pausing in the video, so we'll see if we can get me to stop yapping and actually show the move. Okay, here. All right. This move. It's like a face stab from Noctis. Right? This is a counter hit launcher, kind of like Steve's back one in Tekken, even in Tekken 8. Noctis does a quick stab and it counter hit launches and converts into a combo. We don't see Clive have any of that. And I don't think he's going to have it because Clive is kind of pitched as a slower mid-range fighter, whereas Noctis kind of had fast poking in addition to his mid-range. So they've also done a lot in Tekken 8 to remove counter hit launchers. So I think there's a solid chance that the move will just be missing entirely, right? Let me pull up this moment again so you can see it in full speed. Because I think the move, it should be seen how fast this move is. Here. Arslan Ash on Kuni's going to do a 1-2 jab, and then Noctis will do the face stab. Sorry, I will do the 1-2. See that? 1-2, face stab. So I don't think that move is going to be present in Clive's moveset, but aside from that, there are some animation similarities, but when it comes to gameplay, we'll just have to get our hands on the character. So we'll see. I'm optimistic for Clive in the sense that I think he'll be a really fun character to play. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy him. As much as people are saying it's the death of Tekken, we saw Noctis not really warp how Tekken was played, at least at the high level. I'm sure low-level players will probably struggle with a lot of the animations being visually overwhelming, just new ways of interacting with characters at different ranges. But to me, they seem completely different. I don't think they're the same at all. But let me know what you think in the comments. I want to know. Am I tripping? Is Clive actually the exact same as Noctis? We'll find out soon when we get our hands on him. I'll be streaming almost every day on Twitch, grinding as much Clive as I can to see if he's going to be my new main character. And we'll see if we enjoy him. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a like and comment if you made it this far. Subscribe for more. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.